So right behind me here is the largest peak in all of North America, Denali. Now this peak is rarely out, but today it is, and it's some pretty good conditions today too. Some nice clouds are surrounding it, so I'm gonna go and try and photograph it. Well, wait right there. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's back up 2 days. So I'm here in interior Alaska, and today I'm going to do some landscape photography, and I also bought a new lens, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And yeah, it's almost May, but there still is a lot of snow here. Even this viewpoint isn't plowed, so I'm going to kind of just hike in. I'm kind of parked right here by the road. I'm going to hike into this viewpoint and see if I get some nice lookouts for sunset. See behind me, the views are simply spectacular. Now, the reason I chose this place to work through the summer is because kind of right there behind the clouds, you can't see it right now, but is a Denali Peak at 20,310 feet. But you can only see it about 30% of the time. I think it's 30% of the people who come out here to actually see Denali get to see it. And of course, it was out this whole previous week, but I finally get out to do some photography, and it's behind clouds, but that's all right, because as you can see, there's no shortage of dramatic mountains to photograph. Now, this isn't the Alaskan range that we're seeing right now. The Alaskan range is behind that, including Denali, and some dramatic light is kind of hitting it already. So it's pretty much already good conditions for photography, even though we've got about 2.5 hours before sunset. So this hike is actually a little bit hard. It is a little bit of elevation gain, but that's not the problem. The problem is the snow. Now it's a little bit above freezing now, and it's been above freezing the past few days. So the top is getting really soft and it's frozen underneath. So I keep sinking in a little bit as I walk. So my footing isn't too good. And yeah, because I'm still standing on about probably 3 feet of built up snow. It'll probably be another month and a half until this is all gone. So I'm kind of like sinking in a little bit on some of my footsteps, but I'm still almost to the lookout there, and it's already looking like there's some pretty nice views. So I made it here to the viewpoint, and wow, it's just absolutely stunning. Again, I really wish Denali was out because I'd get some great pictures, but there is no interest lacking at all in this scene. We've got the nice river still half frozen down there, and some very interesting peaks to the left. So yeah, I think I'm gonna set up just right here. I am a little bit close to the edge, but it's not too bad. I'm just worried about the snow because sometimes it'll give away and my whole leg will go under up to my hip. So I do have to be mindful of that because it would not be fun to tumble down there. But yeah, I'm just gonna get my camera all set up here and go over the new lens I bought. All right, so the lens I bought was a Tamron 70-200 f2.8. Now, I did have the 24-120, the Nikon F4, and in my last video it did break. The focus motor just completely blew out on it. And I did some research to get the 24-120 fixed, and it cost about $500 sending it back to Nikon. So I still might do that, but that's how much I paid for that lens. So I was a little wary on it. So I decided to buy this one instead. For multiple reasons, but the first reason is because I knew where I'd be staying here at Denali State Park and working at the lodge, and I'd be about 40 miles away from the peak. So I knew a 70-200 would come in handy to photograph the mountain, because I'm really excited to photograph Denali and this mountain range this whole summer. So with the extra 70-200 reach, this will definitely help me achieve that. And then I did do an extensive amount of research before I purchased this lens. Yeah, it was torn between the 70-200 Tamron and the Nikon one. The Nikon one was just about $1,000 more. And by doing a lot of research, it seems like they're both very similar for sharpness and very similar in general. And I figured saving the $1,000 would probably be worth it. Because again, the reviews of the Tamron 70-200, which this one is the G2, have all been really good. Yeah, and I thought to save the extra $1,000, it would probably be worth it to pick this one up. And I haven't really used it yet at all. This is my first shoot with it. So I'm just kind of waiting for the light to get a little bit better because it is an overcast day, which is nice. And these mountains are just spectacular. I've got so many compositions in mind. I'm just kind of waiting for the light to do something interesting. But yeah, and then also with the 70-200, I wanted to do a little more intimate photography, like a little more zoomed in landscapes, focusing on like the small details, which was harder to do even at 120 millimeters on my 24-120. So hopefully this one will help me get a little more, I guess, artistic-y in a way. But yeah, so I'm excited to use it tonight. We still have about an hour and a half before sunset, so plenty of time. And it is going to be taking some getting used to being up this late for sunset. It's already 8 o'clock and it's still light out and the sun's still way up in the sky. So I've never actually used a 70-200 lens. So these compositions are being a little challenging for me to find. Even though this is such a nice location, I think it's a nice location to practice at. We're not getting much light. Everything's a nice cool blue, which is good, and the mountains are dramatic, but I'm not getting the most dramatic light right now. But I am just trying different compositions to see what works, and I'm struggling a little bit here to find something good. I'm not moving my tripod around, which I probably should be, but I think to just practice with this new lens first, I want to keep it in one position and try and work my scene the best I can. A lot of landscape photography, I do want to get lower, move around, get a better viewpoint, but this I'm just trying to only move my camera on the ball head so I can get different viewpoints from where I'm at to kind of take some pictures and get an idea of a good composition. Then I'm reviewing it on the back of my camera and seeing if I do need to move, which I'll see that later as the light starts to get a little bit better. Now, a pretty simple composition. In the immediate foreground, we just have this river that snakes through there, and then in the midground / background, we have the mountains. So not really too much going on in it at all. Again, just very, very simplistic, but pretty nice and pretty pleasing. Right now it's nothing too special just because it is very blue and there's a lot of snow and it's becoming a very flat kind of compressed image because as the river is a leading line without much light, it doesn't have too much interest. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing too crazy. My first photograph with this 70-200 lens. So far I'm liking the quality on it. Just from the back of the screen it looks pretty sharp. So right now I'm at 8 seconds, f11, ISO 64, 5-second timer. This is pretty spectacular, but I've never seen it like this with the clouds mixed in with the peaks. So it's so dramatic and it's so nice. And we're getting such nice light right now. Amazing conditions. Now I am a little bit early, but I want to make sure I get the most of the light. So I'm here set up, gonna fine tune some compositions, then just wait for that light to get really good. So I am already starting to shoot. We still have about an hour and a half before sunset. I got up here really early just because I wasn't sure what the light was going to do, and I did see from where I'm staying that Denali was out, and I wanted to make sure I got some images no matter what in case the clouds rolled back in. But it does look like the clouds are not going to cover up the peak tonight, which is awesome. But I don't really have too interesting compositions set. I'm just pretty much filling Denali in the frame, which is nice. Again, with my 70-200 lens, I can do that from this location. Even if I had my 24-120, it wouldn't give me enough reach to fill the frame, and I'd have to crop a lot. So this is pretty nice. I'm still gonna have to crop a good bit just because the way the mountain is, it's kind of wider than it is tall. So I'm gonna kind of do like a panorama type crop just to make it a more pleasing image. We're getting some real nice light. The sun's getting pretty low on the horizon, and I still have an hour before sunset, so I have plenty of time to shoot. But I'll kind of go over my composition here of Denali. It's real simple. So yeah, pretty much all I'm doing is because if I zoom out at 70, it's a bit wide. So I'm zooming in right to around about 200. And I'm putting the main peak just a little bit to the right of the center. and I'm getting the rest of the mountain in there, and it's looking real nice and dramatic with all the light, and we've got those clouds kind of going through the middle of the frame, and you can really see the peak. And this is a unique spot just because most pictures of Denali are from Denali National Park, which is from the northeast side, and I'm kind of on the southeast side, so it's a little bit of a different viewpoint. And I think if we get some really nice hues in the sky, I'll get a pretty nice image. And again, it's just filling the frame just with the mountain, nothing else. This is a spot where there's really nothing I can put in the foreground. If you look when I zoom out, we kind of just have these trees here. They're kind of hard to see, but they're just the black on the bottom of the frame is just trees, which aren't very interesting, and the river as well. Right now it's all iced, so it just looks like snow. There's no leading lines or breaks in the river that'll lead towards Denali Peak there. Yeah, the light's just catching really nice on all these mountains here. It's pretty great conditions today. The only problem is the way the sun's setting, it's going to set behind these mountains, so a lot of them will be backlit, which won't be too bad because the range is so wide that I'm still able to shoot Denali because the sun's so far to the left, so it's not going to be directly behind it blowing out the sky. But as it sets more, it will kind of go a little bit more into my scene. So since I am shooting so tight, I'm able to really just get a small section, and it's not really affecting my composition that much. Now these conditions we're getting are just so spectacular. The light is kind of jumping up and illuminating the clouds that are below the peak of Denali, and the light's also just kind of washing the peak away, which is really nice. It's kind of bathing the peak in light. So these conditions are pretty spectacular. So now I'm just focusing on the main peak Denali there. One of the longest sunsets I've seen by far, because I've never really been up here in the Arctic. Actually, I guess technically it's not the Arctic. We're still below the Arctic Circle, but it is very high north. So I've never seen sunsets that last this long. Because recently when I was in Australia, it was about 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness, just because it was close to the equator. And even Yellowstone, it stayed pretty light, pretty late, but nothing compared to this. Usually by 10 o'clock it was pretty dark, and now it's about 10 o'clock and the light is still pretty nice. The clouds are starting to catch a little color in them. The peak of Denali is actually getting some sunlight on it. And I had to manually focus just because with the filters it's sometimes hard to autofocus. So I used manually focus, just focusing to infinity. Now I'm shooting 25 seconds, F13, ISO 64. It's crazy just how the conditions will change. So you always want to come back to spots quite frequently actually. Because again, 2 days ago, I didn't see Denali at all because it was behind the clouds and there wasn't really any good light to speak of whatsoever. There's just a flat, hazy light, which sometimes can be interesting, but when you compare it to light like I'm getting today, it's no contest. So most of the best light is gone and the light is starting to fleet away. So I'm gonna pack everything up and then head back down. Today was an amazing day for landscape photography. I'm so happy that I actually got the opportunity to photograph Denali and that it was out, and it was in some pretty great conditions as well. And I really got to use the 70-200 lens, my new lens, and so far I'm pretty happy with it, no complaints. I will get back and edit the images and see what they look like, but looking at the back of the screen, I'm pretty sure they're nice and sharp. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.